Hello, my name is Luke, and this is my persuasive speech. It can happen in the blink of an eye, a split second, risky decision that can change the rest of your life and all those involved. The "it'll only take a second" mentality that plagues our industry. The safety practices we are taught on the job site are being greatly ignored. As we as an industry have come a long way, we have a lot of work to do even still. We are taught and shown the proper way to do assignments safely, but the second the people in charge walk away, so far too often, workers ignore everything that was just explained and go right back to doing it the way they were. I'll admit that it's not always the workers that are oblivious to the safety training that we are supposed to be getting and are applying it to our work. Sometimes it's the very people that we are looking up to train us and lead us down a right path, that are leading us down a dangerous path that will eventually lead us to getting hurt, someone else getting hurt, or even worse, someone getting killed. First, I'll explain the 4 deadly accidents on a construction site. Second, I'll explain all of the safety precautions that have been put into action to minimize those dangers. Third, I'll go over the mindset needed to change this situation into a zero fatality workspace. According to OSHA, there are 4 fatal hazards associated with construction industry. The leading cause of death in the construction industry is falls. Falling off ladders, leading edges of the structure. Man lifts and unmarked holes in the walking work surfaces, just to name a few. I'm sure most of you remember the tower crane that fell in downtown Seattle on Mercer Street on April 27, 2019, where Andrew Yoder and Travis Corbett lost their lives falling from that crane. Being struck by something on or near a construction site is the next leading cause of death. According to the Seattle Times, Sarah Wong and Alan Justed lost their lives when the tower crane on Mercer Street fell on them as they were passing by. Another example, I was working in North Dakota in the winter of 2012. We were building a large wall that weighed about 1,000 pounds. My foreman gave us the instructions to just put a couple of boards on the end of it, hoping that will hold it. Nowhere near what it needed for stability. The fierce winds picked up just as I was walking by, and the section I was near fell on me. It took 6 guys to lift it up just high enough to help me out from underneath it. Number 3 is caught in between. Caught in between is the 3rd leading cause of death on the construction site. I grew up knowing a good family who had a young boy who was buried alive because he was sent down into a trench to move some pipes. It'll only take a second, is what he was told, and the trench caved in on him. It took the emergency team 2.5 hours to find his body. By then, it was too late. Electrocution. Electrocution is the last but not least of the fatal 4 deadly accidents on a construction site. A job site I was working on had a boom lift operator that came in contact with a power line. The power line charged the boom lift to, it's an insane amount of voltage that goes through those lines. Anyway, the tires of the lift lit on fire, and a 20-foot radius around the entire machine, all the sand and the dirt had turned to glass because it got so hot. Now that I've explained the fatal 4 deadly accidents on a construction site, I'll explain the safety precautions that have been put into effect by OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration, to cover the fatal 4. OSHA.gov safety regulations state that to minimize fall hazards, we must wear and use personal fall arrest equipment, which is usually a fall harness that is attached to you and attached to either a lanyard or a yo-yo, something to keep you from falling. Install and maintain perimeter protection, also known as controlled access zones. Cover and secure the floor openings and label those floor opening covers. Usually we paint them orange or green or something, so with a fluorescent color, so they're easily visible so that we can avoid those areas. Use ladders and scaffolds safely. The standard requirements for ladders and scaffold is to be every 2 feet, or for every foot you go vertically, you need to be 2 feet back from the edge. That starts at 15 feet from the edge. To minimize the struck by hazards are to never position yourself between moving and fixed objects. Never stand in the way of moving objects from either you or other trades. Wear high visibility clothes like that I'm wearing. Requires to be a high visibility colors, which are green, yellow, orange, and sometimes red. Sometimes they'll allow red. But for high visibility level 2, it needs to have at least 200 square inches of reflective tape that is on it that can be easily visible. To minimize caught in between hazards. Heavy machinery, for instance, never walk in the path of a moving machine without first making eye contact with the operator and getting the go ahead, nod, or wave. If you can't see the operator's eyes, he can't see you. Never enter an unprotected trench or excavation 5 feet or deeper without an adequate protective system in place. Some trenches under 5 feet deep may also need such a system. Make sure the trench or excavation is protected either by sloping, shoring, benching, or trenching shield systems. To minimize electrocution hazards, locate and identify utilities before you ever start doing anything. You need to make sure that you're not going to get electrocuted. Even small household appliances, they can still produce quite a sting when you get shocked. Look for overhead power lines when operating any equipment, like the example I used earlier. You don't want to come in contact with anything that's could potentially kill you, and it very well could and has in many cases. Maintain a safe distance away from power lines. Learn the safe distance requirements. That is 10 feet minimum. You need to be 10 feet minimum away from any power line. Do not operate portable electrical power tools unless they are grounded or double insulated. Use ground fault circuit interrupters for protection, also known as GFCIs. Be alert for electrical hazards when working with ladders, scaffolds, or other platforms. Now that I've gone over the hazards and the processes to minimize these risks, I'm going to explain a mindset that we as an industry need to take to become a zero fatality industry. We as an industry need to think of every man and woman on the job site as a family member. We look after and care for our families, right? So taking this approach would help us to see the hazards and help each other to take the proper precautions and to eliminate the dangers so we can all go home safely to our loved ones every night. We need to not get offended when someone points out a hazard we are exposed to and just fix the problem. Most job sites I'm working on today are starting to implement the reward system to encourage workers to be more safety conscious and to implement the safety acts into the field. See something, say something mentality is becoming more of a standard as we strive to become more safety conscious. So in conclusion, if we consistently keep in mind the fatal 4 accidents and remember the OSHA laws to keep us safe, then we as an industry will change the it'll only take a second mentality into see something, say something, or into helping our brothers and sisters think and be more safe. If we can look out for each other, then we can become a zero fatality industry. This is my speech. Thank you for your time.